Hermann, my name. I'm the chairman and founder of Bitcoin.
Hey there, I'm John.
Hello, I am Fernando Motolese from Prague, Bitcoin, Brazil, known as Bitcoin Beach Brazil.
I'm Evan Kaloudis. I work on the Zeus wallet.
My name is Obi, and I am the CEO and one of the founders of Beharry.
I have a couple of questions for you. How do you see the Lightning Network contributing to the scalability and transaction speed of Bitcoin?
I mean, I think the Lightning Network is a vital component, but in and of itself, not enough. So more tools will have to be built on the Lightning Network. I think it'll have to become easier to open and close channels. But the Lightning Network obviously is a vital component. I think already the Lightning Network has demonstrated itself as the perfect settlement layer between large entities. Um, so, custodial wallets can settle between themselves, even if those users aren't using self-custody. Um, the Lightning Network enables easy settlement between entities, whether those are payment providers or custodial wallets or companies or whatever.
Okay, so then we can actually talk about what the main challenges are that need to be addressed.
Well, I think the main problem in my experience. Look, I'm not super technical, but I use it on a daily basis to run an organization and pay salaries and that sort of thing. So, from a usability perspective, um, I think the main challenges are, well, channel liquidity. It's hard to manage if you're not super technical. Managing channels is quite difficult. It's signing up for a wallet and not being able to receive money right away because you haven't got an open channel with sufficient liquidity is a challenge. So things like that, it's going to have to be made. It's going to have to become a lot easier, where that sort of complexity is hidden away from the everyday user, which I have no doubt is possible. I've had a fantastic experience these last 3 to 4 months with Phoenix, which is the self-custody wallet on Lightning, and it's relatively easy. But still, there you have to open a channel before you can do anything. You can't just download the wallet and begin. So yeah, if those things can be abstracted away from the user, then yeah, good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you for that info. And on another note, can you share any successful use cases or real world applications of the Lightning Network that you find particularly inspiring?
I think the most inspirational experiences. I mean, there's been so many great moments over the last sort of 2 years that we've been doing this. I think the most inspirational moment off the top of my head has to be, when so we have a lot of young people who work for us part time. We've got senior coaches who run the organization, but then they've got junior coaches working underneath them, um, that are still in training but already working and earning a small part-time salary. These are sort of high school kids that are going to finish high school in 2 to 3 years and then got to decide what to do with their life. And fantastic thing that's happened is that these kids who are now young adults, fast becoming young adults, are able to connect directly with people from all over the world who can send them small payments directly. So if one of them, let's say they've got a big test coming up and they're writing an exam, and people are following their journey through the organization's journey, and watching these kids grow up, and they see, well, they had a great result in the exam or they did something else, then people can send them such directly. It's not even necessary anymore for an organization to be a middleman between people that want to donate and people on the ground that can use small amounts like $1, $1.50, $2. If we had one kid who had a birthday recently, and a random a random $10 payment made the world a difference. He could buy enough food to actually have a little party for himself and his friends, and it wouldn't have happened otherwise. And it wouldn't have happened without the Lightning Network, which makes that sort of thing super easy, super quick.
Amazing. That's a really inspiring story.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. How would you describe the Lightning Network to someone who's new to the concept?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've tried many times. It's not It's not that straightforward. I mean, yeah, you could describe it by saying something like it's the settlement layer of the Bitcoin network, whereas I guess the blockchain is the issuance layer, if you want to differentiate it in that way. But I don't know. I guess one of the easiest examples to say, is to sort of just say, look, imagine you're running a tab at a bar. So rather than make a payment every single time you go to the bar and to get a beer or a cool drink or whatever, you're actually running a tab and making one big payment at the end of the night. I think that's the most useful way of explaining it to people, where you're not making constant settlements through the blockchain, where settlements are absolutely final, but you're keeping a tab, and that tab can be settled at any moment.
That's a
Um,
good analogy, especially for Bitcoiners.
yeah, I mean, it's not mine. I read it. I mean, there's everything I know has been drawn from people with way more knowledge than I have.
Okay, then I can immediately ask what advice you would give to someone who's interested in getting involved with the Lightning Network and contributing to its development.
I mean, obviously, it depends on your level of technical experience and your level of willingness to sit down and figure things out. Uh, but I mean, even for a relatively non-technical person, if you want to really get involved with the Lightning Network, I guess the best thing to do, if you have a little bit of capital, is to either set up your own node or buy one that comes, sort of prepackaged from companies like Start9. Sell nodes that you essentially plug it in and boot it up, and you've got a Lightning node running. You might have to synchronize, do the initial block download, but once that's up and running, it's pretty straightforward to open channels. And if you're not putting massive amounts of money in those channels, and it's just kind of like experimentational, then that's a fun way to really get involved in the nitty gritty.
Cool. And also, how important is collaboration among Lightning service providers and businesses for the Lightning Network?
I mean, I think it's very important. I think it's look, I don't think you can onboard the entire planet to self custody Lightning. I don't think the Lightning Network was made for that. I think other solutions will be developed where perhaps it's easier to get anyone into a self custody situation and still have fast, instant, near zero fee settlements. But the Lightning Network, as it is today, already super important for settlement between companies. I mean, let's say you've got a custodial wallet like Wallet of Satoshi, you've got a little bit of money there, just you're spending money like cash in your pocket, and a company like Bitrefill. It's the perfect settlement layer between two large entities like that.
From your perspective, what impact has the Lightning Network had on the Bitcoin community and just the community in general?
Um, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like the Lightning Network is definitely, in my experience, drawn some people that would otherwise have gone more down the sort of the crypto path. I've drawn them back in because, I mean, let's face it, the blockchain itself is, slowly but surely ossifying and becoming more difficult to change. And obviously there are still updates being done, but no major updates. But then the Lightning Network brings back that sort of sense of adventurism, building stuff, and it's fine because you're not breaking anything on the base layer if something does go wrong. And so it's been cool to see like people who would otherwise probably have built onto moving on other blockchains come back to Bitcoin and build on top of that, because there is this exciting new layer happening. That's been yeah, that's been really interesting. I mean, it's not like I haven't personally seen a massive amount of that, but I've seen significant instances of that, if I can put it that way.
Thank you. And in your opinion, what are the key benefits that the Lightning Network brings to Bitcoin users and businesses?
Um, I mean, for users, obviously, it brings quick, fast, cheap payments. Um, I guess, I mean, one interesting way to think about it is for businesses, Lightning actually, it becomes a sort of an interesting, businesses almost become like sort of payment providers in a way. Um, I see a lot of companies becoming Lightning service providers, LSPs, and that's kind of cool. I think that's an interesting, because look, I mean, let's face it, you need a high amount of technical competency to run a large Lightning node with lots of channels and manage liquidity and. But if you are a business and you have a team that can manage that, then that's pretty cool. And you can onboard a lot of users that way, and it's going to be custodial, I guess. But like I said, I find great value in custodial solutions. If as long as people don't put large amounts of money in there, it's small amounts just to play around with. Um, so yeah, I think it opens up new possibilities for businesses to provide extra services to users.
Awesome. So thank you so much. How are you enjoying BTC Prague?
I think it's an absolutely fantastic conference. I'm surprised by how big the conference is, and yet there's still a very high amount of signal here. There's not a lot of noise surrounding crypto and blah blah blah. It's all Bitcoin. It's all inspirational. It's all people are here, at least in my experience, for the right reasons.
Awesome. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I have a couple of questions for you. Number one, how do you see the Lightning Network contributing to the scalability and transaction speed of Bitcoin?
How does it impact the scalability?
How does it contribute to it?
Contribute? Oh, I mean, like second layer, right? I think one of the slides of my talk was like people say Bitcoin's slow, but I'm trying to reframe that as like Bitcoin's stable, especially on the base layer, and you want that base layer to be stable, just like TCP/IP or the underlying thing, the cables that are running through the Atlantic and everywhere else in the world for the internet. Those things need to be stable. So you have to have a strong foundation, and yes, that has to move a bit more slower, or quite a bit more slower. So scalability of transaction throughput and stuff like that, that happens on a second layer. And Lightning is the closest thing we have to a still distributed, decentralized network, less trustless network for payments. So yeah, I think it just makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Question number two. In your opinion, what are the main challenges that need to be addressed for wider adoption of the Lightning Network?
More use cases, more builders, more designers, more entrepreneurs. We need more companies. We need to move from ecosystem, not move, but we have an ecosystem, very strong ecosystem. We need to have a strong industry, and Bitcoin as an industry, and by that I mean like in the capitalist sense, right? As an industry, we need to develop a lot more. We're selling our services and products to ourselves. We need to break out of that. Your customers can't be other Bitcoin companies. It has to be the rest of the world, because if we have to wait for that kind of trajectory, it's going to take a long time to make every company a Bitcoin company. And I don't think that even makes sense anyway.
No, that you make a good point there. I completely agree with it. Can you share any successful use cases or real-world applications of the Lightning Network that you find particularly inspiring?
Those that I find inspiring, interesting. I saw some experimental stuff done recently. Again, like it's about not integrating everything into Bitcoin. It's like, how does Bitcoin kind of like reach out and touch other technologies and stuff. One of them I saw, somebody made some node management kind of interface, but that's control, or even a coin control one that's controlled by like ChatGPT style stuff, like a GPT model. So that was kind of interesting. I'm super excited about that space. especially as it collides with Bitcoin, because if you want AI for all, people without credit cards aren't able to pay, right, for some of these services. Or sometimes you don't have enough money to pay the subscription fee, but at least you could pay it in microtransactions. So seems something perfect for Lightning Network. Yeah.
Awesome. How would you describe the Lightning Network to someone who's new to the concept?
Someone new to the concept? All right. I guess that depends on how like technical or not technical they are, but I'm assuming it's someone who's not technical. Um, so the Lightning Network is a way to move Bitcoin a lot faster.
Okay, that's a pretty simple way to get it through. Yeah. All right. And how important is collaboration and interoperability among Bitcoin and Lightning businesses
I
and
mean,
service providers?
yeah, like when we talk about like setting foundations, um, you need to have that base layer, that equal playing field for everybody to be able to operate on, and it's what people demand, right? People are demanding portability of their data. We see, like the did space and Noster, the excitement around that, and censorship resistance and portability of identity. We see that as becoming um, like there's a hint towards that trend right now, um, and we need to obviously create specifications and standards or whatever. Not trying to go to the XKCDC route, but we need to build specifications in which we can like talk to one another. The Lightning Network wouldn't exist without the bolts, the specifications that define it. So yeah, it's that's why we're building this anyway. We build that foundation. Anyone could work within it. If you're building walled gardens again, then you're not doing anything new.
No, that's a great perspective. Um, from your perspective, what impact has the Lightning Network had on the Bitcoin community and ecosystem so far?
So about 2 to 3 years ago, we started seeing explosion of things on the application layer. So that's going to end up bringing in more developers that are maybe web developers or mobile developers to be able to do stuff with this technology now. The years prior, not just of the development of the Lightning Network, 2018, whatever, when it's launched, but prior to that, in the rest of the years that Bitcoin has been around since 2009, it's all been about like the technical protocol development. Now we're getting into the stage where people are able to solve their problems with Bitcoin, and they're able to create use cases, and that in itself is going to invite more developers, more builders, and just increase the adoption and use and connection that Bitcoin has with the people's problems in the real world, outside of our bubble.
All right. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in getting involved with the Lightning Network and contributing to its development?
Um, Go to bolt.fun/build on Bitcoin, and we have a portal there, and it's exactly made for that, to kind of be that jumping off point of someone who wants to be working in the field or wants to understand some of like what's possible, what are the components of it, and yeah, hopefully it's valuable enough. There we have hackathons and other things going on, but sorry for the shameless self plug, but
That's what we're
this
here
is
for.
something that's really important to me, and I think it's important for the industry. We didn't see anyone doing it, so we decided to do it ourselves.
Awesome, and you guys are doing an amazing job. And then the last question, in your opinion, what are the key benefits that the Lightning Network brings to Bitcoin users and businesses?
What are the key benefits? I mean, then we have to like break that down. My immediate reaction is going to be was actually, um, you know, is Lightning Network or Bitcoin something that's suitable for that problem? We live in a world now that people still need to pay their rents in fiat and buy food in fiat. So that was going to be my initial reaction, but to the question. But if you were to distill it down for businesses, Well, if you rely on a global market that needs to do borderless payments, that you're connected with customers who don't have credit cards, who you aren't able to send to or whatever like that, um, I think that's one of the strong arguments for using Bitcoin as a global settlement layer. Um, that's definitely seen in like this AI field, for example, as I mentioned before. So yeah, that global settlement aspect of it. So now your customers can be anywhere. I just talked to this startup, Slice. Um, they pay out people for watching some specific ads that they end up serving out, and those people could be anywhere, right? And also, you don't need to give up like, your information, right? It's a little extension that blocks ads and replaces them. So, yeah. Otherwise, that would be done on fiat rails, and you would miss a large percent of the market because they're not able to cash out.
All right, awesome. Sounds great. Enjoy the rest of the conference here in Prague, and thank you for the interview.
No worries. Thank you, BTC Prague. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Connect the World. You guys are doing an amazing job. Always fun to interview with you guys. Thank you so much. Again, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank
Peace.
you. All right, I have a couple of questions for you about Lightning. How would you explain Lightning to someone that's new to the concept?
Lightning is, so you have this thing called Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is this form of fair money, digital money for the world. But it has some limitations. Even though it's completely decentralized, so it's available anywhere in the world, it can be slow and sometimes expensive to send transactions with this. So Lightning solves that problem. It allows you to send Bitcoin at really low cost and really high speed.
Great. What is one of the main challenges for wider Lightning adoption?
So one of the main challenges for Lightning adoption, I think there's two, but one I can pick and choose. But one is there's a lack of organizations who are geared to train and educate people about it. And the second is that there are some technical limitations, which means that right now, from a user experience point of view, it can be not as easy as we know it's capable of being. So once you solve those, the user experience problem, and two, the training and education problem, then Lightning's ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. What's one of the most interesting real-world applications you've seen of Lightning so far? That's been the most inspirational.
I think so. For us as an organization, we focus on anybody everywhere, but our first set of customers are the people who need it the most. So they're people in the global south, or people living in parts of the world that are under the control or the yoke of authoritarian regimes or dictatorships. Now, there's many inspiring examples when you're thinking about these parts of the world. But one very simple one is trying to send money to help loved ones who are fighting against an oppressive regime in many countries. For example, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Africa. And the existing systems have either been incredibly expensive, sometimes paying up to 30% to get this to the people, or not possible at all. And with Lightning, they've been able to send aid to help their loved ones in a matter of seconds at almost no cost, and while protecting their loved ones as well at the same time. And that's incredibly inspirational, and it's incredibly motivating that we're building something and we're part of something really, really useful for the world.
Okay, amazing. How do Fedi and Lightning work together?
Okay, so I mentioned there are two missing pieces to make Lightning scale to the world, and Fedi solves those two pieces. So one, Bitcoin takes us to a certain level. It's decentralized, but it can be a little bit slow, a little bit expensive. Lightning takes us further. It takes us from millions of users to maybe tens of millions, even maybe hundreds of millions of users. Now, Fedi scales us all the way. It takes us to hundreds of millions, if not billions of users. And because as part of Fedi, we are hiring hundreds, sorry, not thousands, not yet, but hundreds of people to educate users and communities, especially in the global south, LATAM, Africa, Middle East, North Africa, and Southeast Asia, on Bitcoin, on Lightning, and on Fedi, and Fedi meant the technology that Fedi uses, and the entire ecosystem of apps that are out there that are ready and waiting to serve them. So we solve those two. We educate at scale with hundreds of educators, and Fedi Mint, that the technology itself scales Lightning to be able to support the world.
You guys are doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
How important is interoperability and collaboration within the ecosystem, Lightning service providers, and other Bitcoin companies?
I think it's incredibly important, actually, and that's a really good question, because we have a couple of sayings in Fedi, but one that's relevant to this is that we win by ensuring the entire Bitcoin ecosystem wins. And we think as an attitude and mindset, especially when sometimes you see these battles on Twitter between different parties, we always look to use community and the power of community to level up humanity. But we have to sort of try to do that within our own community, or the Bitcoin community as well. So whenever we're thinking about ways to grow the system, we think about how can we put things in place that not only benefit Fedi, but also benefit other companies and organizations who are using the Lightning Network. I'll give you one example. Over the coming months, we're going to be looking to significantly increase the number of websites out there that support Lightning, and Bitcoin and Lightning, so that they can accept payments in Bitcoin, accept payments in Lightning. And also they support technologies like a technology called WebLN, which makes it really easy for people making Lightning wallets to integrate with these websites. So the experience is seamless. Now, Fedi includes a Lightning wallet, so it improves our user experience. But instead of making these companies and using our funds, making these companies use a proprietary technology that only can be used with our wallet, we're using open technologies like Lightning and WebLN, so that as we onboard these sites, every single other Lightning wallet in the space benefits from it, and therefore the entire space benefits. So it's a win-win. And as a result, all the different Lightning wallets are working together to make this happen, because everybody benefits. So all our resources are working in the same direction. The power of community.
Awesome, the power of Bitcoin and Bitcoin communities.
Yep, exactly.
What's the effect that you've seen Lightning have on the Bitcoin community?
I think, well, it's been out for many years now. It's one of the most mature technologies. So the effect has changed over time. When it first came out, it was in the midst of concerns around a fork in Bitcoin, between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And Lightning offered an answer to the question that you don't need to scale the base layer, but to be able to scale transactions. So therefore the general feeling within the Bitcoin community was hope. Well, one, respect for the technical, the inventiveness of the idea, and also hope. And later on, then it became more professionalized and so on. So I think now it's just seen as a sense of part of the bedrock architecture. So it's a sense of safety and of stability that you gain from it, knowing that we've got these key important elements that are adding and improving the ecosystem.
All right, last question. What would you say to someone that's interested in developing on Lightning, developing on Fedi, and how would they get started and what do they do?
So I would say, great question. On our site, you can go to it by just going to fedi.xyz. Top link at the moment is to download the first version of Fedi Alpha, which is this Lightning wallet, but it has all these other incredible features. We call it Federated OS. But it also tells you how to build on top of Lightning, how to build on top of Fedi there. So the specific page is the builders page. You can see it in the bottom nav, but right now, because we're trying to get people to build on Lightning wherever they are, it's the top link. And so I would suggest go to Fedi builders and get involved. You can, if you're a hardcore developer, you can build what we call Fedi Mint modules, which are these really powerful ways to extend Fedi and Bitcoin and Lightning. To and you're only limited by your imagination. Or if you're someone who is able to build websites and knows JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, you can do what we call Fedi mods, which are sort of like Fedimint modules light. But anyone, the millions of people who know to build websites, can be ready within a few hours building Fedimint modules using Lightning, using Fedi, and therefore using Bitcoin.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how have you been enjoying the conference?
Oh, I've loved it. I mean, this was a grand experiment for the conference goers, and it was a grand experiment for us because the conference goers decided to use the conference to showcase the first ever pop-up Fedi Federation, and it's amazing. Last count, I believe they had well over 8,000 people come to this event, and that was this morning on the second day, so of the second public day. So I have no idea where they are now at the end of the day. Obviously, probably a higher number. But for us as well, we had incredible feedback on this product. We're really happy how it performed. You know, this is not yet even production, and it's already incredibly reliable, incredibly functional, and it's all the elements in place. So that makes us really confident. And the feedback from everybody, the level of organization, the level of efficiency, it's incredibly efficient. So yeah, this is a great event. It's already the biggest event in Europe, and I'm sure people are going to be coming here again.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Obi, for the interview, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Maya.
Since 2021, I am working to build a circular economy in Jericoacoara. And since then, I was working in tools to enable Lightning and Bitcoin transactions in that small village that is in northeast of Brazil, 300 kilometers from the capital. And there we have such great community. We was inspired by Bitcoin Beach in El Zonte, and then in these 2 years we built something incredible there, enable Lightning payments and Bitcoin payments as well for more than 28 merchants, and we have around 600 users with both cards and Lightning wallets buying, day-to-day making everyday transactions. And the most impressive thing about Chiricoacoara is we have this social project that we provide donation, we receive donations, and we provide fruits for the kids, and they are able to buy it for 10 sats only. So we are the biggest uh, fruit buyers of the city, and everything is done through Lightning. So Lightning, when I figured out about Lightning in the beginning of the community, I understood that it was the Bitcoin banking system that we need to scale Bitcoin. It fixed this. So we achieved the world record. We did 71 transactions in 30 minutes and 33 seconds. And then we prove that Lightning is ready for scale Bitcoin for sure.
How do you see the Lightning Network increasing the scalability and access to the Bitcoin network?
Uh, to use on-chain wallets, it's a little bit difficult for ordinary people. So, and also there are the fees, the technical aspects, the kinds of wallet that you can use that is challenging for small transactions. So Lightning fixed this. Lightning make possible you to spend like the kids in Jericoacoara buying fruits for 10 cents. So it's very important for circular economies and for the economy, the normal economy, to have a tool that it's easier to use. And the other aspect is, like in the beginning of the nationalization of the currency, where when banks emerged, Lightning is allowing a new kind of Bitcoin banking emerge that it's like through these community banks we can empower communities. So when I started in Jericoacoara, I started with just 0.02 BTC, and now in our server we have like more than 1 BTC just of the merchants. And then every time that they got a lot of transactions, a lot of fractions of Bitcoin, we teach them how to use on-chain wallet, how to move it. So Lightning is it's important for them to hold small pieces of Bitcoin, and then when they have enough, or when they want to save it for the future, it's better to send for a one-chain wallet. But when they need to spend, Lightning is the definitive solution that they are like in Jericho Acquire, we have the card, so they receive a payment through their Lightning wallet in the POS machine, and they are ready to use as a credit card, but running through the Bitcoin standard. So that's the point. Lightning, like for sovereign individuals, it allows that I make some yield by holding my keys and hold my Bitcoin in my home. And like now, the most successful node runners are doing, thanks to Lightning, around 4% per year. So it's allowed the Bitcoinization of banks.
How would you describe Lightning Network to someone that's completely new?
Like I describe Lightning as your spending account. So we have on-chain wallets that your saving account, and the Lightning wallet is a kind of hot wallet that is ready to use. And it's like in Brazil we have Pix. It's a kind of instant transaction settlement, and it's like, well, in Brazil we say, oh, Lightning is like Pix, and Bitcoin is like DOC, that a transaction that you send and took some time to be confirmed. So with these two things for the Brazilians, they understand very fast. But maybe the best way to explain Lightning is to say is the Bitcoin Visa.
That's a very 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 funny analogy.
Yeah, yeah, but it is because as we are doing in El Salvador, in Brazil, we have that node, we provide the machine, we provide cards, and then they tap the card and the payment is done. So Visa, when I am set up in like 30, 40 machines all together with a team helping me, I ensure that the Visa founders at some time figure out, man, we need to give that machines to people. So I am really dedicated to make it so. Yesterday, I received 1 BTC as a donation to establish that company in El Salvador to make this worldwide distribution of the Bitcoinized POS machine. And then I think with 10 BTC, that's our goal, we'll be able to send 1,000 machines for 100 communities for free.
Nice, nice. I'm definitely looking for one for Suriname.
Sure.
How important is collaboration and cross operability between Lightning service providers and Lightning companies?
It's a really important aspect of the industry. I think the Bitcoin industry, people like to collaborate. There's no other way. We need to collaborate. And also, I am collaborating with several players of the market because with their help, and with our help they can improve their tools, and with their help we can offer better services, a better technology to empower people. So we have one goal in the Bitcoin space that we can't tell to anyone, but it's the main reason to Bitcoin exists is to remove the control from the state of the currency. You know, we cannot be like depending of the governments to you know like to control our currency anymore because every day they are printing money and they are making war and they are you know in a you doing crazy stuff. So with Bitcoin we fight against these governments and you know it's the peaceful revolution happening. I forgot the question, but can you repeat, please?
The question is interoperability. How important is
Okay.
it?
So the interoperability is really important. Like now, when you went to Jericoacoara, you see like you can use every wallet. You can, you know, your preferred wallet. You can use any bolt card of any company. So it's like uh, comparing with Visa again. There's a lot of issuers of Visa cards, but they all are Visa. So the services on Lightning, they are they always work on each other because the protocol, the established protocol is really powerful and it's open source. So also there are other implementations like Core Lightning that it's a really great implementation as well. So uh, as a protocol, it's totally necessary that it needs to be interoperable.
In your opinion, what effect has the Lightning Network had on the Bitcoin community so far?
You know, like at the beginning, I figured out I decided by myself like Bitcoin is not Lightning, and then when I fully understood what Lightning is and how it works, and then I know that it rely on Bitcoin. It depends on it. So I think the maximalists that they are in the Olimpo of you know the ecosystem. They hold a lot. They a lot of old Bitcoiners don't understand that what we need for the hyper Bitcoinization is cheap fees and instant settlement. So Lightning is offering this. So people need to understand that it's needed. It's what we have now. We can have something different in the future, but it's for me is the definitive solution.
All right, next question. What advice would you give someone that's interested in developing on the Lightning Network?
First, they need to run a node and start to understand how it works. You know, that's the first step. And also, it will allow you to onboard your family, your friends, and have this close beta environment. So for me, like tools like MyNode BTC, Umbrel, they are really important for the ecosystem.
Okay. In your opinion, what are the key benefits that the Lightning Network brings to Bitcoin and the ecosystem and just the world in general?
Yes, as I said, uh, the main feature of Lightning is to instant payment, to settle the payment instantly. So, and also the fees are a great feature. So I think like the best is there's a friend of mine, Diego Collin, that he consider Bitcoin as a planet. And with Lightning, we are building the roads and the highways. Depends of the size of the channel. So it's a perfect way to explain it. You know, like when you establish a channel, you have this space for the sats flow, and then it's like a highway. And then when you make a payment, you pay the fee for that payment. That's the you know, like I don't remember the name in English, but
Like a toll.
yeah, yeah, like a toll.
Great. That's a very great explanation for it.
Thanks.
How have you been enjoying BTC Prague?
Like I work for the unbanked. I work for people who don't have even bathrooms. So for me, it's like they people here don't understand Bitcoin. Anyone in this fair is accepting Bitcoin. The hotel that I was denied to accept cash. It's so they like to be robbed by their government. The business here are terrible. When you give them euros, then switch back for the crowns, and then you know it's like it was a great experience, great to be here, but it's like I think Europe they like what they have, but it's like all inequality happens with the third world, mainly because that they have everything here and we don't have almost anything there. Like the African guy that's in my home now went to here, Brandon, with 100 bucks. So I asked for the organization to pay their lunch and they couldn't. So a guy coming from Africa, from Uganda, raised funds to come here and see, and then they wasn't able to pay their lunch. So it's like um, they are when you see the ecosystem and the crypto industry and the mining tools and blah blah blah, it's like this is why Bitcoin is not thriving because anyone is taking care of where is really needed. Just a few people like Anita Posh, Mike Peterson, there's other guys doing that grassroots projects. But like here, for me, my biggest critic is like if you are a Bitcoin conference, the businesses who are selling here must be obligated to accept Bitcoin, or we are living in a fake conference. And it looked like me very fake, because there's one business accepting Bitcoin here.
Okay, interesting. True, true, true.
I'm sorry
All
for
right.
my.
No, no, no,
You
no,
can remove
no, no,
that
no. You
question.
can be candid. Candid is fine. Thank you so much for doing the interview today, and enjoy the rest of the conference. I have a couple of questions for you about Lightning.
Sure.
What are the main challenges that we need to solve for wider Lightning adoption?
Number one, Lightning abstracts everything with these concepts of these payment channels. And with them, we have these really tricky new concepts we have to introduce to beginners. So not only do you need to understand like Bitcoins, how it sort of works, what a seed freight is, and how that gives you access to your money. But with Lightning, you also have to introduce the concept of inbound and outbound channels and liquidity. And I think that's perhaps the most overwhelming thing to introduce to users. Thankfully, we have some pretty good approaches as to abstract that all away so they're not introduced to it, even when they can hold their own keys, which is quite nice.
What would you say to someone that's interested in getting involved in development on Lightning?
Well, Lightning is super critical. So Bitcoin itself has allowed us to have a savings layer, right? Like a settlement layer with a fixed supply that allows us to ensure that our savings aren't diluted. But Lightning solves the problem of Bitcoin not being easy to spend, not easy to use in the real world. It's really very much our payments layer compared to like Bitcoin base layer's savings layer. So no matter the form that people are interacting with Bitcoin, whether it be self custody, custody, or like somewhere in the middle with these federations, Lightning is going to be the rails that everyone makes their payments. Hell, at the conference today, all the vendors were accepting Bitcoin and they're all accepting payments over the Lightning network. So it's the rails by which we're all going to make our payments day to day.
All right. What would you say is the best real world application you've seen of Lightning up till now, the most inspiring one?
I'm super biased towards all the stuff with Lightning, but it really shined with the in-person payments, right? If I'm doing on-chain, like that works for like a online payment where I'm accepting or I'm making a payment to receive a good online through the mail, right? But if I need to pay for something in the real world, whether it be the grocery line or a tab at the bar, it's just so much easier if you don't have to wait for block confirmation and just have that instant settlement that Lightning provides. So I don't know, I'm going to say just being in person, having real merchants. At the conference, it's been great. For me personally, most of my Lightning payments have been at pub key in New York, at the bar. It's been incredible. We have the Zeus point of sale deployed there, and it's just great to, you buy your beers, your drinks, your food, and all of a sudden they bring out the tablet with the QR code for the payment. And you've got so many other patrons at the bars that aren't Bitcoiners. Their eyes light up. They're like, whoa, 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 what's this giant QR code being displayed? And it really sparks a conversation, right? So people's eyes light up and starts turning into conversation about how to onboard people on the Bitcoin. It's pretty amazing.
How would you explain Lightning to someone that's new to the concept?
That's new to the concept. It's like Bitcoin. I would go back to the analogy. Bitcoin is a settlement layer. It's like your checking account. It's good for like wires, but Lightning is the payment network, the heart of Bitcoin that most people are interacting with it day to day. As time goes on and more people are using Bitcoin, more of them are going to be overwhelmingly using the Lightning rails, those instant payments, those invoices over those on-chain addresses.
Right. How would you recommend someone that wants to get started on development on Lightning to get started?
There's no shortage of projects to get started on. If you want to help with the user end case, there's plenty of Lightning apps, including Zeus, that are consumer-facing, open source, in which we're trying to increase the user experience. But there's also no shortage of Lightning implementation, people who are working on the actual Lightning protocol to make sure that this underlying system works, from LND to Core Lightning, Eclair, LDK. They all need a lot of help to make sure that it's easy for application developers to deploy this to the real world. So yeah, just try to be active, try to be social, be vocal about what you're interested in, and there's no shortage of work that we need help on with hands-on.
How important is interoperability and collaboration?
Interoperability is huge, especially at this stage in the Bitcoin journey. Oh, we got a guest appearance.
Especially this kind of situation has to be interoperable, right?
100%, right?
Yeah.
So my view is that, first of all, this is John's Beharry, right?
Sorry for interrupting, but
well, listen, I
wouldn't
allow.
I'm from Bolt Fun,
Bolt
right?
Fun,
Right.
Bitcoin design.
No. So I have to bring the fun here, right?
Of course. But John's has helped us immensely with Zeus and the design project.
Interoperability. What's that?
Okay, back to interoperability. So traditionally, we've seen people in Silicon Valley and tech try to create their moats, try to keep their services split from everything else, and that's completely against the Bitcoin ethos. We want to make users be able to interoperate, whether it be the Lightning addresses, these rails that we could all commonly use, or different software. Like, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to hop from one piece of software to the other in our ecosystem. We're so early on, we all benefit when we just make the user experience better for everyone instead of trying to like gate users into their own user experience. It's counterintuitive in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What effect has Lightning had on the Bitcoin community?
On the Bitcoin community, I think it's been immense in terms of like giving people a little vision into the future, what the actual usage of it's going to be. It's made it easier for merchants to accept it, giving them bigger and better assurances, right? Especially when we have stuff like ordinals clogging the main chain and making payments much more expensive to clear on chain. um, it's really been like a game changer. Like this technology would not work at all with day-to-day payments without things like Lightning.
Awesome. How's your experience been at the conference so far?
Conference has been great. It's been amazing to be out here in Prague. It's a beautiful city. But first and foremost, it's just been amazing to network with all the European Bitcoiners, many of which I've known online but haven't been able to, look in the eye and shake their hand. Uh, some incredible conversations this week, and just a lot of hugs, being able to say thank you, thanks for helping out the last few years, and a lot of applauding for what we should be working on in the years to come.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks so much. Check out Zeus.
Lightning is something that's going to take over and replace the legacy electronic system of payment system of Visa and MasterCard. Lightning is faster, more efficient, and better for the end user, both end users.
In your opinion, what effect has the Lightning Network had on the Bitcoin community so far?
It's still very beginning stages. I know Lightning was founded in 2015, and it took a few years to get going, and it still has its inefficiencies. I'm not very technical to explain the inefficiencies and how actually it properly works, but I think there is adoption of it happening, and people realizing that you can build your business on with using Lightning, and I've seen this in parts in places. Obviously, El Salvador being the first nation to adopt Bitcoin, you need to have Lightning working for a country to adopt it as a payment network. But I have heard of a lot of other companies using it to bootstrapping it for other projects as well. I won't be able to go into the details because I'm not that technical enough to explain that.
No worries, no worries. In your opinion, how does Lightning empower freedom for people?
Lightning is a layer on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin itself is technology that is freedom technology that allows humans to finally have property that's censorship resistant and that cannot be debased, taken or taken away from you or stolen. It is finally something that's going to free us from this fiat nightmare, and Lightning is just a very cool system that allows us to transact Bitcoin, small amounts of Bitcoin, in instant settlements. And I think that's going to empower people to. That's going to, as I said, it's going to take over the legacy system of Mastercards and Visas, and it's just going to empower people to settle transactions instantly, and instead of having to pay middlemen and banks along the way all these extra fees and having to wait a few days for settlements. It's just going to empower people to take more financial controls into their own hands.
Completely agree with that one. What is one of the most inspiring real-world use cases that you've seen with Lightning?
El Salvador, maybe, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. It's basically real-world use case as a payment system. I've used it I only have the opportunity to use it in El Salvador and at Bitcoin conferences. Where I live in Serbia, Serbs are not really open to the topic of Bitcoin yet. So maybe there's a couple of vendors that can maybe accept Bitcoin in Serbia, but otherwise I have used Lightning to buy goods around the world in places that accept it, like in Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica, for example. I've settled a meal, my dinner on Lightning. That was easy. That was quick. Yeah, it's the most superior payment network in the world.
And why do you think it's so challenging in Serbia to get more Lightning adoption?
Well, it's more about why is Bitcoin not accepted that understood in Serbia? Because Serbians are very cynical. They've gone through a lot of bad times, and they experienced even though they experienced the third worst case of hyperinflation in the 90s in the world. Serbians have had a very troubled past, so they don't really trust authorities, and they don't trust outside authorities. They don't, they've been hard done by the international community. So they see something like Bitcoin, they say it's too good to be true, and it's probably controlled by the CIA, KGB, MI6 or something like that, and they won't trust it. They are not fully educated to understand that actually no one can control Bitcoin. It's a consensus. It's a system of based on consensus, like it's for the people by the people, and I think Serbs are very close to understanding because they're a cash society. They like to have cash. They like their privacy. They don't want things. They don't like electronic. They don't like bank accounts too much. They like to settle in cash because otherwise having your accounts and stuff opens them up to what they feel is unfair taxes. So a lot of the Serbian economy is settled in cash. And if that cash ever gets taken away, or they're told to settle on some CBDC or some other fiat system, then I think they'll fully understand what Bitcoin is. But now it's one of my jobs is to try and teach Serbia that Bitcoin is superior to cash, and that Lightning is going to be a system that you can be able to settle in, going to the market to buy your meat, fresh fish and vegetables and all that. You could probably easily use Lightning.
All right.
It sounds like the Serbs actually need Bitcoin, especially because of those issues with trust.
I think every country, of course, needs Bitcoin. Every human in the world needs Bitcoin, but some countries will understand it better than others. I think the countries, the financially privileged countries, will be the ones that will probably last to understand it, or maybe not. But those countries that are going through hard economic times, which is most of the world actually, but I would say your Argentinas, your Nigerias, your Lebanons, and places like that, where they're actually having serious central bank issues, and they're having horrible inflation. Those countries, it's obvious to store your value and your energy in something like Bitcoin. And so for Serbia, the same case. Serbia right now is going through really bad, not terrible inflation, but it's double digits. It's about 14, 15%. That's bad. It's not good at all. And people don't realize that they don't understand that central banks and the fractional reserve system are literally creating money with one single keystroke. And that single keystroke is also what's devaluing your purchasing power at the same time. You have to put two and two together. Not many people realize that. Some people still believe we're on a gold standard.
That's true. Most people don't realize.
I just spoke to someone recently that thinks that we're still on the gold standard.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you who that is, but yeah.
Okay, then
That leads me to my next question. Why is Lightning over Bitcoin better than a central bank digital currency?
Oh, central bank digital currency is highly centralized. Central bank digital currency is having an account with a central bank, and they sell it to you as being a very efficient, makes your life very efficient and convenient, but it's very narrow viewed. And what they don't tell you is that the other things that they can do with that money, which can be programmable to, like, for example, have an expiry date, or you're allowed to spend it here but not there. You're not allowed to, or you've misbehaved, so they'll add a social credit score system to it. They might even add some carbon tax into it. If you've been a good person, you'll get credits. If you've been a bad person, you might be able to leave your area or something like that. It's totalitarian on steroids.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that.
So what Lightning is the absolute opposite. What Bitcoin is the absolute opposite of that. Yes, Lightning is not. It's built on Bitcoin, so you're protected by Bitcoin, and it's decentralized. You can't. It's censorship resistant. You can't take it away from people. It doesn't have an expiry date. There's a cap on it. It can't inflate it. It's Bitcoin.
So the CBDCs and inflation and the printing that has been going on in the past 3 to 4 years, how do you think that's going to play out when CBDs come out?
it makes it easier.
Okay, so yes, I'd say now with issue of inflation is that the economy, the biggest central banks in the world have probably printed about 30% or 40% of fiat that's ever existed. So that means that's going to translate to about 30 or 40% inflation down the road, pretty much. And we're yet to feel. We've had about in America, they say they've had like the peak. They said 8%, but it's the way they calculate it. It's not quite right. They take out the expensive items and put cheap items in there. It's all a trick, but actually America's probably going through double-digit inflation. But they're yet to probably experience the worst of that. Might come back in next couple of years. But here's the thing: with the interest rates up, that has a problem on the credit market, and a lot of banks have held on, and we're seeing right now with the crash of Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate, and those banks who had all this credit, this government debt on their balance sheet, and then that became a negative asset, so they went under. I think maybe that's by design, because those banks then get bought up by your big JP Morgan players, and as more banks go under, then you'll get less banks, so you have an even bigger case of too big to fail. But then those bigger banks like JP Morgan will facilitate central bank digital currencies, maybe.
Then I have another last question. The US just raised their debt ceiling, so they're going to be printing at least $4 trillion in the next 2 years. What kind of impact is that going to have on countries globally with inflation already skyrocketing around the world? And basically every country around the world is going to have a lot more US dollar liquidity flowing into trade.
Firstly, the debt ceiling is an absolute farce. I mean, what is that debt ceiling? And you're going to rise it every time. I think the Republican Party should actually grow a backbone and should have stopped that debt ceiling, and actually defaulted. It would have been the best thing to do, but of course not. They keep the clown show going. And I think that will have, as you said, it will have repercussions not only in America, but around the world. I think they will soon embark on printing in more stimulus. You might see countries introducing, like the UK and stuff, piloting UBI programs as well. And as you know, that's just basically printing money to give to people to keep them happy. And that's just going to result in this feedback of inflation getting worse and worse. I don't know. It's hard to predict, really. I don't know what these globalists are planning, but definitely raising the debt ceiling is going to have repercussions. I don't know exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, kicking the can down the road.
It is, exactly. But hey, it's going to actually it's going to give birth to new Bitcoiners.
Definitely.
It has always has a positive lining.
Definitely.
The Bitcoin economy is going to grow further. That's how I was orange pilled. I first bought Bitcoin in 2017, but I got sidetracked as well I bought some other shit coins. But then by 2020, when COVID happened, and March 2020, April 2020, I saw interest rates being pulled back to zero, and all the stimulus being pumped in, and I saw this was how dangerous that was. Finally, I didn't make two and two together when that happened after the 2008 financial crisis, and I worked in legacy finance. I knew something was not right, but I didn't really quite put my finger in, and I had the keys of that in my pocket. That was Bitcoin. I didn't realize that, but it took a crisis of 2020 for me to realize that. So there will be more crises, and there'll be more Bitcoiners born in those crises. Yeah, there'll be more. There'll be more adoption. There'll be more of us.
All right.
How have you been enjoying BTC Prague?
It's been great. It's a really good conference. The level of organization and the talks here are fantastic, and the people I meet, new people I meet, old faces I see, it's a great location. And so my hat goes up to Matthias and his brother. I forget his name, organizer, to a great conference. So congratulations.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the day.
I will. You too. Thank you.
Couple of questions for you. Let's start with, how do you see the Lightning Network contributing to scalability and transaction speed of Bitcoin?
Yeah, of course. Lightning Network contributes to that in a great way. Actually, it's when the Lightning Network started to emerge is when I got really excited about Bitcoin, because it's really the payment layer of Bitcoin right now. It's really intertwined with Bitcoin. It becomes the payment fabric of Bitcoin, and it's what makes Bitcoin a medium of exchange right now, rather than just a store of value, I think. So when the Lightning Network emerged, yeah, that's when my view of Bitcoin completely changed, basically, because it suddenly became usable for payments as well. So I do think that contributes greatly. We of course have to see how everything develops in the future. We want to get as many users on board as we can. But we're of course like sort of blocked by the base layer and how many Lightning channels we can open.
All right, and in your opinion, what are the main challenges that need to be addressed for wider adoption of the Lightning Network?
Yeah, so if you think of wider adoption, say the Lightning Network needs to grow 100x, supply 100 times as many Lightning payments as we do today. Like, we don't even know whether the network would be too congested, for example, to handle all these payments. So I think a lot more research has to be done on how we can improve the network reliability. So there's an important pillar there to improve the network reliability. There's actually a new project, it's a brand new project that just started, I think maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, called Scaling Lightning. And what they want to do is really investigate, spin up fake networks of Lightning and send lots of payments across in order to see where Lightning doesn't work, right? If you increase the usage to 100x. So I think it's a great project, and also to see where the bottlenecks are in Lightning implementations themselves. So I think that's a very important thing we need to do. We need to do a lot more research on the reliability of Lightning payments, and also make sure that these channels don't force close as often, and especially like when the network gets congested. That might cause a cascade of forced closures in the network, so we need to address that before we get to that higher Lightning adoption. Yeah, and in order to get the users on board of the Lightning Network, I do think that the Breeze SDK could have a major impact on that, because with the Breeze SDK, it's very easy to integrate Lightning payments into your own applications, integrate non-custodial Lightning payments into your applications, where basically integrating Lightning just becomes a function call. So if it becomes really easy to integrate these Lightning payments, then you are able to get a lot more apps on board, and with that, you also get the users to use the Lightning Network. So I see like we still have a lot of work to do for growing the adoption of the Lightning Network, but we're also getting tools now to actually get users on board.
Can you share any successful use cases or real-world applications of the Lightning Network that you find particularly inspiring?
Basically, any use case of Lightning is inspiring. But I really like Satimoto, like charging your car with Lightning. It has the streaming sats. Also, like driving an electric car, if you want to charge your car, that's a very KYC environment. And I think it's great just charging your car with Lightning. I think that's a really fun project.
All right. How would you describe the Lightning Network to someone who is new to the concept?
It's a layer on top of Bitcoin that makes Bitcoin payments very, very fast. It allows you to pay Bitcoin instantly rather than having to wait for a while. it has some different trade-offs than exchanging on the main layer, because you have to be online in order to receive a payment, to send a payment, and you have to be online every now and then to make sure you're not being cheated. So there's some trade-offs there. Yeah, it's basically the layer that makes Bitcoin payments extremely fast, and it's what makes Bitcoin a medium of exchange.
All right. Next question. How important is collaboration and interoperability between different Lightning Network implementations and service providers for long-term success?
I think it's extremely important. We need open standards. We need all these Lightning implementations to be interoperable with each other in order to not end up in a vendor-locked situation. Like if you think about, for example, what happened with email, it became almost impossible to run your own email server, because if you would send an email from your own email server, it would end up in spam, or would not be able to receive emails. And we really have to be careful not to have Lightning become a system that is fragmented with like the KYC part of it and the non-KYC part of it. So all these things need to remain interoperable. So that's for the Lightning implementation is very important, and also for LSPs, it's the same thing basically. We're actively working on the specification for LSPs as well, so we can have an open LSP standard, so a user can pick an LSP, or the app developer can pick an LSP, and it wouldn't matter which LSP they pick. Just have to be careful that this never becomes a permission system. So right now we have the opportunity to build it out in such a way that it doesn't become a permission system, and that's why these open standards are so important. By the way, the LSP spec you can find on github.com/Bitcoin and Lightning layer specs/LSP. Do take a look, because we need more contributors to that to look at the spec and see whether we are doing the right job making these specifications.
From your perspective, what impact has the Lightning Network had on the Bitcoin community and ecosystem so far?
Yeah, you see that Lightning payments are everywhere in the Bitcoin community, right? Everywhere you do a payment, you do it with the Lightning Network. And I even think that on-chain payments are not even really a thing anymore. If you go to a conference or go to a meetup or want to pay somewhere with Bitcoin, you use Lightning. If you onboard people onto Bitcoin, you use Lightning, because it's instant. It's so fast. So I think Lightning, it really shifted the way Bitcoin works. So I think it had a huge impact on how Bitcoin works.
What advice would you give to someone who's interested in getting involved with the Lightning Network and contributing to its development?
Yeah, so a couple of things I think. Run a node, run a Lightning node, and tinker with it. You know, there's a bunch of stuff you can do with your Lightning node. You can run LM-bits and do some stuff there. If you're a developer and you're running a Lightning node, then start developing against these APIs. Start pulling data out of your node, right? See what's going on in your node, and maybe try to have a little hobby project. I think that's a great way to get started developing on the Lightning Network, interacting with these APIs of the Lightning nodes. And then if you're missing something or something is not working the way you want, then you can contribute that to these Lightning implementations, and there you get more familiar with the code base. So that's a great way to get started. So running a node and getting experience with how all this works. And other than that, there's the Mastering the Lightning Network book. which is a great book to learn about how the Lightning protocol works. And there's also the Chaincode Labs seminars. Chaincode Labs gives seminars, so if you're interested in contributing to the Lightning Network, there's a Lightning protocol development seminar. You can follow that. And I found that, I did that seminar myself, and I found it a great way to learn about the Lightning protocol, because after I finished the seminar, I didn't feel like there were any layers of Lightning anymore that I didn't know about, right? So it really got me a solid foundation on Lightning. And as a last thing, maybe I think Nifty Nai has this Base 58 workshop, and she's also going to do a Lightning thing there. So I just heard that in the conference.
Okay, great. In your opinion, what are the key benefits that the Lightning Network brings to Bitcoin users and businesses?
Key benefits are instant payments. And you can now accept payments on your website, for example. You can now create an API that requires payment up front, for example. It has the opportunity to become like the native currency of the internet. So we get a lot of businesses creating stuff on top of the Lightning Network, so it becomes really easy to use for regular users and also for businesses. And it allows for programmable money, so you can do anything you want with it. And I think also for small businesses, I think if you want to interact with the fiat system, for example, there's high startup costs to start a business in the fiat world, where if you want to create a business on the Lightning Network, you can just start tinkering with it on your attic and create your products from there. There's no startup costs involved, and I think that's a great opportunity for starting businesses.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you'd like to share about BTC Prague and the Lightning Network?
No.